4D cute little gingerbread with a bite taken out of him by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you this really adorable little gingerbread man who has a foot that's removable, like somebody may or may not have taken a bite from him, which is sad, you know, when you think about it. But very, very easy for a 4D design, just has that little removable foot that, you know, you can also, as you're wearing this, if you're like you want to take the foot off for a while but you don't want it, you don't lose it, you can flip it over and just kind of, it'll attach to the back of the nail as well. So you can, if you don't want it on there or visible, you can just stick it to the other side, and then if you want him to be whole again, take it out and put it back on top. So I hope you guys like this guy. Like I said, he's adorable, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future holiday designs as well. So for the background of this nail, I want it to be very clean, very simple, and kind of just not be very, I don't know, kind of just disappear. So I'm going to be doing it with just a layer of white acrylic. If you wanted to, you could also do something like a pale blue or a pale green would be good for this time of year, but you know, just try to do something that's a little bit unnoticeable. Kind of, you don't want it to be the focus of the design since there's so much going on top of it. While that white acrylic is still a little bit wet, go ahead and place your magnet down in one of the lower corners, not all the way to the tip of the nail or to the edge of the nail, but just kind of lower off to one side. And then encase the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. You will be adding some acrylic over the top of your magnet. You are going to be filing this so it's not going to get to be too thick over the magnet, but you do want the magnet to be nice and strong, so don't add too much on top of it. You know, try to keep it relatively thin, if that makes sense, I hope. So now I'm going to be filing the nail into shape, so I'm going to use my e-file for this, and if you do end up with a good thickness of acrylic on top of your magnet where it's really affecting the magnet strength, file most of that away. And I know that, especially if you don't use an e-file, doing extra filing is quite the headache, but, you know, it's necessary to make sure it's what's going to stay on. And then I used a much finer bit just to kind of smooth out the surface texture. Now I'm going to be sculpting out my little gingerbread, and I'm using a bronze color of acrylic. And I'm going to begin with his head, and his head to body ratio is almost 50-50. He's got a really big head and a relatively small body, which I think is really cute for a little gingerbread. So his head and his body are about the same length. His body's just a little thinner. And then while his body was still really wet, I placed two little blue pointy rhinestones in there. That the reason I call them pointies, they have that pointy bottom, which makes them look so amazing, but they have to be set into acrylic and kind of like encased or like placed in there for his buttons on his tummy. And when you do the leg, so then I'm going to be adding the arms and the legs, and when you do the leg that's by the magnet, take the leg up to the magnet but don't go over the magnet, and then do his other arm that's in the opposite corner, and do that one kind of the same way, because he's going to be holding a little candy cane over there, so he has to not have his whole arm because it's folded around it, and the candy cane's not there yet, but when it's there you'll see what I mean. And then I'm going to be giving him a red Santa hat, so at this point it's just the red portion of the hat just kind of over the top of his head and then off to the side, kind of the little tail of the hat going off. And then add the little white trim on his hat. Now my red acrylic is highly pigmented and makes this wonderful bleeding into my white, so my white turns pink usually when I have red next to white, which doesn't happen all of that often, but is happening constantly with the holidays. So, with all the little Santa hats I'm making. So that's kind of fun. Not really, but yeah. So anyways, that's why my acrylic turns a little bit pink sometimes. Just letting you know. And then I'm going to be adding his candy cane. So his candy cane I'm doing very simple, very thin. And I'm doing it with red acrylic instead of doing it with white. You could do it with white or red. It doesn't really matter as far as that goes because you're just going to be adding the stripes later. The reason I did it with red instead of white is because I wanted to make sure the red matched the red of his hat. And if I did it with white and then put the paint on it, I knew my red would be so much brighter and more vibrant, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it wouldn't match his hat very well. So if you do it with the red acrylic, you know it's going to match the red acrylic of your hat. So I've got his little candy cane going over, and I'm going to extend the straight part of his candy cane over his body a little bit, so it looks like he's kind of holding it to him. Just like that. And then with white acrylic, I'm going to go through and just add the little frosting squiggles that are on the ends of each of his, like almost like a bracelet and an anklet on him. So I've got each of those, and I'm going to be adding those. And the one that is his foot where it's missing, you'll have to look at it and decide if you want the squiggle to be on the part that gets eaten or if you want the squiggle to be on the part that stays on him. But do that squiggle on the edge because it's going to make the area where the foot and it attaches to the body, that little seam, much more invisible. So you want to have that where the seam is, if that makes sense. I hope it does, because you want to make sure that it's not as visible as, you know, it could be. So I put a mark on the top of a new magnet when it's on the one that's on the nail, so I know which side is up, and then I'm going to be sculpting his extra foot on a nail form backing. Now it's really hard to know exactly how big to make it, but I looked at my magnet, I knew it had to be basically the size of the magnet. And so I'm doing this, I'm just adding the tiniest bit of acrylic around it, and you want to make sure that one side of your magnet, or one side of this foot, has a flat edge where it's going to be attaching to the body, and the rest of it's nice and curved. So now with some paint, I'm going to be adding details to my little gingerbread. I highlighted his hat with some brighter shade of red. And then everything with white, I'm just going to be adding a highlight on. So all of his frosting squiggles, and then the trim on his hat, as well as the stripes on my candy cane. And now with black paint, I'm going to be adding little details like his little smile and his little eyes, and then some outlines. Now the outlines are super duper important, because with that white background, the white areas like the trim on his hat and the squiggles of his frosting and the little bits on the candy cane kind of disappear. So make sure that you add enough of the outlines that he pops out from the background and looks a little bit more dimensional. Add a couple little reflection lines in his eyes, and then remove that foot and paint over the magnet with white paint. The reason you want to do this is because you don't want that magnet to show when you take the foot off, because it's going to have a darkness that is almost going to make it look like it's still there if you just look quickly. So you need to make sure that you cover that up, and then I'm going to be applying some gel sealer over the background and matte top coat over my little gingerbread guy, and he is all done. So this is how he looks with his foot when he's all whole and not chewed on yet. And then when you just take his little foot off, then that little piece, it just attaches really easy, so you can easily just kind of slide it off with your fingers. And then, like I said, if you want to have it nearby, you can always stick it to the underside of the nail, and then it just snaps right back into place because that magnet is going to grab onto it. So that is it. I hope you guys like this guy. Like I said, I really enjoyed making him. I think he's adorable. So please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!